All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
What up, everybody? It is great to have you here on this Monday in the United States of America, or as I call it, the United States of Guns. There was just another shooting on a campus in Tennessee. We'll get to the tales as Kim's news rolls on today. We have a lot of stuff today. This is a really cool show. So glad you could be here. Kim is playing hurt, by the way.
Kim, how are you?
Kim is not well. She's got a cold.
Yeah.
And she's had this for, I feel like you've had this for a couple of weeks, but it hasn't been that long. Maybe a week?
No, maybe I would say this is day 5.
Jeez, brutal. Well, I'm glad you can participate. The commissioner of Marx Madness is here. And
Albert, thank you.
I do have a major announcement when it comes to Marx Madness. I'll get to that in a second. This is a really cool show. It is Monday, so we do Marx Murder Mystery Monday. Courtney will be here, and Dateline NBC's Josh Mankiewicz will join us. Yeah. So like a real yarn spinner when it comes to murder mysteries, Mankiewicz. But that's not all. Today in the 11 o'clock hour, there's a treat. The treat is that my dear friend and award-winning broadcaster, Bean, and I think Kim has a, no, I bet you I have it, some volume up of some kind. Can we
I'm hearing a little feedback,
Can
some
we
echo.
kill that? Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry, that was my fault.
My bad. I'm sorry.
The 11 o'clock hour will kick off with, of course, our Marx Madness showdown. And then I bring on a decorated broadcaster and a dear friend of mine, Bean, from Kevin and Bean in Los Angeles. They are no longer. They stopped after, I'll ask him, but it was over 20 years. They were a dominant number one. He's been recognized in all these different ways. But, I mean, were that only the Bean that was coming to the show, it would still be worth having Bean on the show. But he has this weird, I would say weird, I mean special weird. He has a special detail of his life in this super interesting life that I just thought was odd and interesting. And it is that he's a massive Taylor Swift fan. And he went to Taylor Swift's concert.
He beat Ticketmaster. That's the real story. That's the real headline. He defeated Ticketmaster.
That's right. So Bean, who has a podcast, I'll tell you about it, and he'll share all those details. And as I say, he's a decorated broadcaster. And my friend for, I've known him, he may be among a handful of people I've known for longer than anybody else in my life. So he'll join us in the 11 o'clock hour as well. Now, there's so much going on in the world, so much going on in California. We'll talk about what's happening there's yet more rain moving into California. We've already had issues with flooding, with the damage to an aqueduct, a major 200-mile aqueduct that brings water to Southern California. So I'll get to some of that. The Trump rally over the weekend in Waco, Texas was insane. I mean, it was just it was an orgy of anger, right? And let's take back our country. And, it seems to work for him. So let me put my credibility glasses on because I think
we got a couple drops from that. We have a piece of video you wanted to play. So maybe we can get to that at some point during the show because I think there's a lot of potential in that video.
Oh, good. Okay, good. So let's do that in a few minutes. I love that idea. So thank you, Albert.
Albert, thank you.
I do have a major announcement.
A major announcement from the Mark Thompson Show.
It's not a good one. It's not a good major announcement. It's not a good major announcement at all. I was the Steph Curry of Marx Madness. I was amazing in being the only unbroken bracket in Marx Madness. If you're new to the show, We cover a lot of news here. We cover a lot of different issues. And every March, we do Marx Madness, where we pit one drop up against another. Only one can move on to the next round. And so I was able to pick which drops would move on. The audience votes, so we have no idea. There's no way you can cheat. And I thought I knew my audience. And then when I saw how my bracket busted, I thought, Mark, you're an idiot. You really did think about the first few, but then this is based on past performance. I, for example, thought porn stars, what are the porn stars doing, Mark? I thought that would go deep into the tournament because it had before. But it's a new day. It's a sayonara sucker day. And take a look at the brackets.
Sayonara sucker!
Yeah, Commissioner, update us, please. Because I am like a NASCAR driver that wipes out in turn 3. I am done, I think.
How did
Go
you
ahead.
not pick Sayonara Sucker?
Exactly,
I mean,
Kim, exactly.
that was like a cakewalk.
That was, yeah. Well, first of all, you're right. But secondly,
That's not
you
fake.
shouldn't be
That's
critical
real.
because you didn't pick anything. So I just hate to say it.
Are
when
you
you're-
saying I have no right to be judgy? I mean, I do. I'm a voter.
That's true.
So
All
I'll
right,
have
so-
you know.
That's true, and I think Kim's favorite drop in the whole thing is Sayonara Sucker.
It's
That's
so
true,
hurt.
and it's right to be her favorite drop, and it may win it all. I mean, I'm realizing it's a Sayonara Sucker day. It's a Sayonara Sucker age, and I screwed up because I passed over Sayonara Sucker. I thought it would lose to the porn star drop. Gosh,
We have a couple matchups. We're rounding out actually the first round today. So the first
Okay.
round of matchups will wrap up after the 11 o'clock hour, and then voting goes till midnight, like as everyone knows. But Mark, you do have a pick in there. I'm not going to spoil it. That could
Okay.
impress and get you back on track because
All right.
What are the porn stars doing, Mark?
I don't want to hear that drop ever again.
Because if everyone could see on the screen on YouTube, here are the updated standings. Former winner Sayo Jones back on top, 13-1. But then if you
Yeah,
look here,
come on, Sayo. Yeah.
if you look here towards the bottom, right at the very bottom of the screen, is our
Yeah.
pal, is our host, is our leader right here, Mark Thompson at 12-2.
I went from, the penthouse to the doghouse, just like that.
How the mighty
Damn.
have fallen.
Yeah. Brutal. Really brutal. And it was tough for me all weekend. Like I wanted to unburden myself. Lulu Lancaster, John Daly, they're all ahead of me. Victor King, JR.
Off screen, Mark,
JR.
if you want to just send some stuff, and I could arrange some fixing here.
I don't want to cheat. I want to win. What good is winning if you've cheated to win?
You're still looking good because your final picks look like they're going far. Some other people I have not revealed. If you do go on your own standings, you can see what people have picked to be their champions. So
Yeah,
that's the real determining factor for these teams to really separate, because there's a lot of teams that are tied here. It'll really separate the teams.
So again, I had Larry King Scene winning
What can you tell us about the scene?
against, and this is another stupid thing. How could I possibly think that Larry King Scene
What can you tell us about the scene?
was going to beat Good Day, Sir?
Good day, sir!
I mean, it's crazy. Good Day, Sir is clearly better. So between Good Day, Sir and Sayonara Sucker, I left them both behind, and that was just stupid. So that's the latest. And so don't feel bad if you missed it. Also in our celebrity brackets, can we update those next hour, though? Because I kind of want to get underway.
Yes, let me go
Okay.
review our celebrity brackets.
All right. So for now,
Marx Madness.
we continue. You're all alive, and you can all vote, even if you don't have a bracket. So this hour, it's either the Fauci drop
That's not fake. That's real.
or it's the Tubin drop.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
It's Fauci.
That's not fake. That's real.
versus.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
You can vote in YouTube and in the community section of our YouTube channel until midnight tonight. Good luck. And I'm excited about the prospects of somebody else ascending. Already it has happened. Sayo has led the field. Someone else ascending to dominance. That's not fake, that's real versus it was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person. That's for this hour for live voting on YouTube, and then in the community section, as I say, until midnight. Click the like button. Subscribe to our channel. These are all things I'm supposed to say. Email address, themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. You can support the show at themarkthompsonshow.com. Click on contribute. We'll be recognizing a few new Patreon members and a few PayPal contributors a little bit later in the show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
The state of California, the drought after an epic winter. Drought has been helped, as you're aware. A lot of the restrictions on water have been lifted. For the last 3 years, the state's been in desperate need of some rain and snow. Just a month ago, more than 33 million people in California, including the major metropolitan areas of LA, San Francisco, and San Diego, were facing this unrelenting drought, prolonged historic mega drought in the West, dire water shortages. Now, that 33 million number has dropped to 4.6 million. So 4.6 million in the state of California still facing drought conditions. But, I mean, really, that is an extraordinary rally. Snowpack, which is the natural reservoir that eases the drought, as you know, and it also produces flooding that's of concern to us, way past historical averages. Groundwater is the only area in which the state is still struggling. Climate researchers have said the lack of precipitation, higher temperatures, and an increase in evaporative demand. And evaporative is a ding word. That's just, it's just the way that water is evaporated into the atmosphere, obviously. All of that had pushed the West's drought into historic territory. So these storms, experts say, were desperately needed. 12 significant atmospheric river storms, as you know. Rainfall totals about 200% of normal in many places around the state. Snowfall, over 200% of normal. San Francisco, Oakland, Sacramento, Stockton, and Fresno all seeing 150 to 200% of their normal rainfall since October. High elevation snowpack in the Sierra accounts for 30% of California's fresh water supply in an average year. After years of record lows, the state is seeing more than double what they normally see on April 1st when the state surveys snowpack to forecast the year's water resources. They measure for depth and they measure for water content. The southern Sierra, and I mentioned this to you last week, but I'll just mention it again, 283% of normal. Has never been higher, that snowpack, since official record keeping began in the 1950s. The Central Sierra at 231% of normal. That's almost a record high. And the Berkeley Central Sierra Snow Lab near Tahoe says it's received 677 inches of snow this winter, second only to the winter of 1952, when 812 inches fell. There's more moisture in the soil. So slowly, with nearly full reservoirs, California crawls out of the drought. And of course, reservoir storage is dependent on snowpack stores, so you're going to see more in the reservoirs, and as we've talked before, managing those reservoirs is tricky. But the 154 primary interstate reservoirs effectively normal for the end of this winter. And storage does not yet include the amazing snowpack, he says. That's a quote that will come in the months that follow. So very exciting news, I would say, and good news in the state of California when it comes to the drought. And speaking of water, check this out.
The Mark Thompson Show.
The city of Philadelphia is rescinding the bottled water alert. Did you know that there was a bottled water alert in a major American city? Philadelphia. What happened was a chemical spill occurred into the Delaware River. A toxic chemical spilled into the Delaware River. It was in Bucks County, if you know the area of Pennsylvania.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Drink up.
They prompted officials of the Bucks County chemical spill crew, prompted precautionary bottled water alerts on Sunday morning. Testing determined there's no contamination in the river near the intake for the city's water system, nor in the system itself. The intake had been shut down, though, because there was so much of this toxic chemical in the water. In a notice Sunday night, the Philadelphia Water Department said tap water would be safe to drink through at least the end of the day Monday. Officials will provide updates on social media, they said. There is no need to hoard bottled water, Philadelphia, and that's the problem, right? Everybody's seeing the writing on the wall.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah, exactly. I want to get government off our back, though. Well, the government's testing the water, and the government is the reason that there is any kind of regulation on what that water should be, and contaminants released into the water. You know, I feel intensely about this. I think government has an obligation to us Americans to protect us from toxins in the water. There have to be regulations on water and air. And so, if you roll back the regulations on water, which is what happened during the last administration, the Trump administration, not going after the dude. I know that there are some Trumpies out there. We'll get to Trump and his Waco rally in a second. But what I would say just generally is there is this notion of regulation that it's always burdensome. And I'd suggest that these protections are critical. So anyway, because of these protections and regulations, the state is able to step in and say, hey, this is an emergency situation. Now they're saying bathing and showering in the water is safe. The pipe burst at Trinseo, a chemical plant in Bucks County. It led to a chemical spill Friday night. It dumped 8,100 gallons of, quote, water-soluble acrylic polymer solution, a latex finishing material. Yes. A water-soluble acrylic polymer solution. So this is the Delaware River. It separates Philadelphia from New Jersey, feeds the city's Baxter drinking water treatment plant. So are concerned that this stuff has spilled into the Delaware. Butyl acrylate, ethyl acrylate, both used for making resins, plastics, and adhesives. All this stuff dumped into the water. Now, I'll also remind you that butyl acrylate, if that sounds at all like bizarrely familiar, was on board the freight train that derailed last month. Remember the freight train in East Palestine? Yeah, because we rolled back the regulations on those. So now the freight trains can be longer than they should be. They can be understaffed. Yeah.
I got another one for you. I was going to hold it till news, but it's applicable now. Reports say a train carrying hazardous materials derailed in North Dakota early this morning. This happened near Windmere, west of the Minnesota border. No injuries reported. Officials say, quote, there's no danger to the public, but it was carrying hazardous materials. So here's another one.
I mean, these train derailments, it really is true that they happen a lot. But these spillages of the sort that we're seeing, I mean, the damage is real, you know. Wait a minute. That's not fake. That's real.
That's not fake. That's real.
Right. So that's what's going on in Philadelphia. They're slowly rolling back the drinking water restrictions. I do have some Trump stuff. And I mean, he did have his big Waco, he had his Waco rally. And it was like there'd never been anything like that.
There's never been anything like this.
It really is right. I have Trump stuff. I have also law and disorder. And then at the bottom of the hour, I have Mark's Murder Mystery Monday. What I'm looking for is my chunk of Trump, Albert. Do I have that, my chunk of Trump?
Got a little chunk.
Chunky
Trump.
I think I've got it. All right, let's get into it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Open wide.
Ready?
Here comes your chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
He had a big rally. This is his big rally. It opened with a song sung by the January 6th defendants, which is really a...
What?
It's a choice. He started off his first official 2024 campaign rally on Saturday in Waco, Texas. And I don't need to tell you, Waco, the sign of the site, I should say, of the Branch Davidian compound and that whole routine. By the way, that's a fascinating story, the Branch Davidian story. But of course, they're just playing it for, I would say, publicity's sake. No one probably really familiar with the details there. The song that they open with, called Justice for All, features the defendants, who call themselves the J6 Choir, singing a version of the national anthem, including Trump reciting the Pledge of Allegiance over the track. Trump stood with his hand over his heart as the song played, and as images from the Capitol riot, in which Trump supporters stormed the complex to overturn the 2020 election, played on the screen. I mean, I have to say that the idea that you could have the BALLSs to open a rally with some kind of celebration of that riot on January 6th, it was an open, violent coup attempt. There were multiple coup attempts underway, right? There was the legal coup, where you're trying to contest the results of the election. Rebuffed in all of those different court cases, you go to the illegal coup. That's the can you find me 11,780 vote coup, right? Where you're illegally trying to jimmy the election, right? And then there's the violent coup. That was the third thing. That's the attempt on the part of many of these supporters of the former president to storm the Capitol, turn the process over on its side, and then in so doing, allowing for martial law, for the traditions of transfer of power, all to be sidestepped, and for Trump to remain in office. The notion that you could celebrate that in this way. I mean, people lost their lives in this stuff, right? They lost their lives and their livelihoods. And clearly, remember, my whole thing was, lock them up, throw away the key. I understand, I don't mean it literally, but there were a lot of misdemeanors, slaps on the wrist. We talked openly on this show and in the chat about, hey, how come they're only getting this or that? And now these people have risen again. It's like no one learns the lesson. So that was the opener for the J6 crew. And Albert, do you have some, you have audio from that, or what do we have on the,
Yeah, we have this video from Mickey Larson Olsen. She served already 6 months from the insurrection, and
that's
this
a
is
great example of what I'm talking about. Yeah, please go ahead, Albert. Thank you.
Voice from our collective voice, our government of we the people, of the people, by the people, for the people, is also a terrorist. And if they're an American citizen, they are a traitor. They made the decision that we the people no longer have a right to govern ourselves. I'm a proud digital soldier, Manian, and January 6, 2021, inmate number 376303. I was given the max sentence of 180 days for unlawful entry public. I served 161 days in Washington, D.C. Correctional Treatment Facility, a.k.a. jail, from 30 September 22 through 9 March 23. We, the people, are ready to fight. Diamonds are coal under pressure. Be the diamond, and never let anyone or anything dull your shine. Shine like the brightest star you are. The best is yet to come.
I'm tearing up.
Justice will be served.
Yes.
Where we go one, we go all, is how we make tyranny fall. Patriots, it's time to stand tall.
Wow, that's a little wordy, but I appreciate it. Yeah. I thought
I'm
it was
concerned for her mental health.
a little overwritten, I thought, but otherwise interesting. But that's what I'm talking about. So she served all that time, and she's ready to, hop back up on the horse.
It's her badge of honor. She's proud of it.
Yeah,
There is no defense for my conduct.
No, she is just the opposite attitude that Tubin had.
I mean, I'm flabbergasted by her wackiness.
Flabbergasted, I will ding. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think it's her defiance that I think actually defines a big part of that crowd. Now, you can look at her with her, Liberace sequined hat that she's wearing and, kind of this faux patriotism or whatever, the one-dimensional patriotism where you dress up in a bunch of stars and stripes stuff and see that she is a little bit someone who stepped off the curb. But her general defiance does define a part of that group. So, of course, Trump attacked the January 6th investigations. He attacked all of the legal processes that are following him around. The rhetoric about Ron DeSantis was also included. Called Ron DeSantis again, Ron DeSanctimonious. He seems to be sticking with that. He beta tested it for a while. It kind of got over. And now he's happy with it enough to crack it open at his first rally. He took credit for DeSantis' success in Florida, criticized him for being a disciple of former House Speaker Paul Ryan. I'm not a big fan, Trump said, of DeSantis. He's a president who is playing the same, I'd suggest, tune. It's a populist tune. Let's go back and seize our country. That he used to play. So he hasn't really, entered into the conversation anything new. In fact, he's still litigating, if you will, the last election. And now he's looking ahead to these legal entanglements as political theater, right? And they're all politically motivated. He left out one thing, and that was, and remember, he's in Texas at this Waco Rally. I mentioned Waco again in the context of the Branch Davidian compound. But he recognized many Texan politicians and some non-Texans, but two left out: Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, and Ted Cruz, the senator. And Ted Cruz has already declared he wants to go for re-election in 2024. I mean, he'll likely win. For senator, I'm talking about. And they've been Trump allies. Remember, there's the shot of Ted Cruz manning the phones for Trump. Anyway, so far, I'll just say that Trump left them out of his acknowledgments. So
What?
yeah, it's significant in Trump land, I think. Anyway, that's your word on the Waco rally, and that's your chunk of Trump. Yeah.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
But make sure to join us again next time
I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening.
for another chunk of Trump.
We are in the middle of Marx Madness ahead of our Murder Mystery Monday. The Marx Madness pits the Fauci drop.
That's not fake. That's real.
Against the...
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
This is a little tough. If I had to call a winner now, and clearly I can't because I'm not good at it anymore. Thought I was so great. Then I got knocked down to size by the last two showdowns. I would think that Fauci would take this. That's what I would think. Will you update it at the end of the hour, Albert, how it's going?
Yeah, we'll just update what it's looking like in the live chat. Of course, you could vote in the community tab on our channel. So wherever you see the mug, click on the mug, go to the community channel, and vote there.
Exactly what Albert just said. You click on the mug, you'll see home, videos, and then you community, click on it, and you can vote. All right, Josh Mankiewicz from Dateline NBC and Courtney joins with Mark's Murder Mystery Monday. Next!
The Mark Thompson Show.
Kim is playing hurt. Go easy on her. Here's a little news. she's really playing hurt. Don't hear her at all. Wow.
See, when the problem is I mute myself to cough and then I forget to unmute myself.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, Lord. This is the Mark Thompson Show. I am Kim McAllister. And let's start with this large police presence in Nashville at a Nashville middle school after a reported shooting. It happened at the Covenant Presbyterian School. There are multiple reported patients. Police say they have confirmed the suspect is dead. Witnesses say they saw several students running and crying from the scene of the school shooting again at Nashville Middle School. The House of Representatives is moving forward with a bill to ban TikTok. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy tweeting, the legislation will protect Americans from technological tentacles of the Chinese Communist Party.
Now, if they can just work on the technological tentacles of the U.S. companies that are way into every bit of data information imaginable. I mean, they literally were so concerned about the Chinese, but there is no technology in TikTok that isn't surpassed in some ways by the technologies in Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, etc., and Google for that matter.
No, your information's out there. It's just depends on, who has it, right?
Yeah. All right.
I mean,
I'm not. This for another time. But I'm just saying. We had Rich DeMuro on, and he said it. He said, "I don't see anything in this app that would necessarily make anyone vulnerable to, or that could be used by the Chinese in any kind of."
Google it.
But I mean, I'm not saying that he should be the last word on it, but he does know tech,
The Manhattan DA is criticizing Republicans seeking information on an investigation that could lead to an indictment of former President Trump. In a tweet over the weekend, Alvin Bragg said the unprecedented inquiry by federal lawmakers into an ongoing state investigation will only hinder, disrupt, and undermine the work of prosecutors. Bragg is investigating Trump in connection to an alleged payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels right before the 2016 election. The majority of Americans, speaking of Trump, believe multiple investigations into the former president are fair. That according to a new NPR PBS Marist poll. The poll found 56% of respondents said the investigations are fair. 41% said they're part of a witch hunt. The poll comes after Trump said he expects to be indicted in connection with the Manhattan investigation into the whole Stormy Daniels payment. Trump is also under investigation, of course, for his actions during the January 6th Capitol riot, his handling of classified information, and efforts to overturn the 2020 election.
God, you almost forget about the 11,000 documents that he jacked. Until you lose track of it.
Put that at the bottom of the list of crap that's still swirling around.
Right, between the Waco Rally and the baseball bat that he's holding in his shot of the prosecutor in New York, and it's just right, and the J6. Yeah, you just lose track of. Oh yeah, those Mar-a-Lago documents. Right. Anyway.
Yeah. More information coming out about the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. It was revealed overnight that First Citizens Bank is buying most of its former rival. SVB was shut down more than 3 weeks ago after clients withdrew $42 billion in one day. And
tomorrow, by the way, just a quick note, I'm going to try to get a major dude in explaining what's going on with the banking system and the economy and the world economy. It's a great booking. I don't want to promise it yet. I just want to make sure we get him, but we'll have that for you tomorrow. But go ahead.
I always love me a major dude, so that's awesome. Oscar-winning actress Gwyneth Paltrow's ski collision trial is entering its second week of testimony. Paltrow testified Friday in the civil trial in which she's accused of taking off after crashing into another skier at a resort in Utah. Terry Sanderson is suing Paltrow, arguing she crashed into him on a beginner's run at Deer Valley Resort in 2016, leaving him with lasting injuries and brain damage. She says, no, he crashed into me. So this trial is continuing. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
My wife wants some vegetables for coup day.
I was a basketball referee.
Feels great, baby.
Use Mark Thompson. It's unbelievably offensive.
What he's got going here is a situation.
I was fortunate. Everyone I worked with made me better at my job.
You are a cover-up artist, and you are a liar.
Wow, what up, everybody? It's our big Monday show. I hit the wall like a NASCAR driver who'd been drinking too much in Marx Madness. Yeah, my bracket's all over the place. I backed the wrong things. I look back on it and I'm just
It was wrong, it was stupid,
myself.
and I'm trying to be a better person.
Exactly. That actually is in play this hour. So let's quickly remind everybody you can vote in Marx Madness for one of two drops. Only one makes it to the next round. You've got till midnight tonight to vote for.
That's not fake. That's real.
Or
it was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Either it's Fauci.
That's not fake. That's real.
Or the tube.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Vote in the community section of our YouTube channel until midnight tonight, or you can vote live this hour in the YouTube chat. And good luck! It's a great, great honor to once in a while have somebody here, in addition to Courtney, to squire us through what is a murder mystery. Sometimes it's less mysterious than other times. But let's get into it. Mark's Murder Mystery Monday, and we'll welcome our guest.
To Mark's Murder Mystery Monday.
Oh. Put it together for Courtney, everybody, who's our regular
Hello.
Regular visitor. Nice to have you, Courtney, always.
Well, thank you for having me.
And this is quite a special installment.
It is.
Because
we have
from
a professional here.
A professional mystery murder storyteller.
Exactly.
An investigator who is on the most popular murder mystery program and offering, I would say, in America.
Yes.
Not only the television, but the podcast is number one.
Yeah, all of their podcasts. They have multiple podcasts.
Oh, do they? That's great. Well, there's only one of him. He's the great Josh Mankiewicz, everybody. Yeah.
Hi, Mark.
Hello, Josh Mankiewicz. I have no idea what you guys are discussing today, but we are excited to talk to you and glad that you're here. And Josh, we love your work on Dateline, and you're welcome here anytime.
Thank you. We are going to be talking about this Friday's Dateline, which is the 1996 disappearance and presumed murder of Kristin Smart. That'll be on Dateline this Friday, 9:00 Eastern and Pacific. And Courtney, I'm all yours.
There she is, Kristin Smart.
Yes, Kristin Smart. So I thought we would chat about the case a little bit and then talk about the additional coverage that'll happen on Dateline this Friday because the suspect was found guilty in October of this year. Well, no. Sorry. Was that
last
August
year.
Of this year? Yeah, last year.
Last year, yeah.
And he was
found guilty. Found guilty last fall and sentenced very recently, like within the last couple of weeks.
Let me just ask a question here, because this is why I'm here, is to interrupt.
That's why you're everywhere, as I recall.
That's where I am everywhere, yeah. But I interrupt with critical questions that will be answered once, and I won't have to answer this
which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
The question is, once he's found guilty in this case, do we still need to call him the suspect, or is he now the killer?
No, now he's no longer a suspect. That is correct. Very good, Mark.
Thank you. No ding for that, please? Oh, thank you very much. All right, go ahead, Courtney.
All right,
please.
Courtney,
anyway, so he was found guilty last year.
Yes, she was found guilty last year, and so the sentencing recently happened, and so we'll be chatting about this murder today, and that is the subject of Dateline's episode on Friday.
It's a pretty high-profile situation, Kristin Smart.
Yes.
Josh, just from a standpoint of your show, do you try to stay away from stuff like that, or do you actually go toward those higher profile cases?
This actually is not what I would consider to be an ideal case because it received a lot of coverage. I always like it when we're sort of the only ones telling the story nationally, but that certainly isn't the case here. Been in newspapers and television all over the place. Even local television was sort of, following it incrementally over the years. And, I like it better when people don't know how it comes out. In this case, a lot of the audience, and certainly the true crime audience, knows a lot about this, which is why we had to sort of go deeper here. And we're going to be telling a story about this case that sort of hasn't been told before.
Well, please proceed.
Yes. So I'll briefly talk about the case. For those watching, this is Kristin Smart. She is 19. She was a freshman at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. And she's, not that this matters, but she's stunning. She's 6'1". She's incredibly tall for a woman. And that was interesting only in that the murderer, former suspect, Paul Flores, was 5'10". But this is a picture of Kristen. I believe this was her senior picture. And I chose this picture actually because she's wearing a necklace that becomes important later in the case. So Kristen's 19. She's at Cal Poly. She's struggling a little bit with school and staying at Cal Poly. She's not sure she wants to stay there, but her family is encouraging her to be there. In fact, they're encouraging her to stay because it's safe, somewhat close to home. And she goes missing on the night of May 24th, but in the morning of May 25th. So she's last seen at 2 a.m. walking with a student, Paul Flores. And she had gone out that night. If you go down a little bit, Albert, just up to Margarita Campos. She had gone out with a friend, Margarita Campos, who was in the same dorm as her. But Margarita had left a little bit early in the evening because she was tired and didn't want to stay out. And so she left Kristen to go out by herself. And Kristen was said to have been at a party, maybe a little bit inebriated. Some people.
This was Memorial Day weekend of 1996, and it was an off-campus party. But this was all, these were all areas that felt completely safe to walk around, and this is something that students had done before. I just don't want to make it sound like Margarita abandoned her because she was going back to her dorm, and Kristen was like, "No, I want to go find one more party." They'd been at one party and they didn't like it, and Kristen was looking for one more, and there was nothing to do that weekend. They'd stayed on campus while a lot of other people went home or went to other places. Anyway, that's all. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so Kristen's reported to have been at this party. She had maybe had a couple of drinks. It's actually thought that she might have been drugged at the party by the murderer, Paul Flores. But at the time he was the suspect, but she was inebriated and some students were helping her walk home. And then Paul Flores sort of approached them and offered to help get Kristen home to her dorm. Mm-hmm.
So he kind of said, "I'll take it from here."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there was some hesitation in having her walk home with Paul. But ultimately the students were reassured when Paul said, "Yes, I will definitely get her back to her dorm."
He lived in the building right across from hers.
I see.
Yeah, if you go down a little bit, Albert, it'll show the pathway between the two dormitories. And then, so this is, if you're watching, this is where Kristen and Margarita left one another, and then these are the two dormitories, so they were right next to each other.
Yeah.
And so Kristen goes missing.
Josh, it's funny. Courtney always comes very well. She just works very hard on this segment, and she really does. It's almost it's almost embarrassing.
Mark, someone's got to work on the show.
No, it's incredible. I think she does work harder than certainly she works harder than Albert and myself. Anyway, go ahead, Courtney.
Well, she goes missing, and it takes like 2 days, right? For her to get reported, to be reported missing.
Her roommates kind of sound the alarm. The other women who live on her floor, but campus police they're definitely seem to be sort of dragging their feet. They don't take an official missing persons report until I think 3 days later, and they're still all the way through. They're kind of the mindset that she probably just went somewhere. She probably just made some last minute decision to go home or go off with somebody, some friend, or she met some guy, or we don't know, but she's probably just, and that's despite the fact that all her stuff is on her bed in her dorm room, stuff that she would take if she were running off for an unplanned trip with somebody else, like her wallet and her backpack and her makeup and her keys. And I mean, stuff you would not leave there. And the fact that all that stuff is there does not seem to jog campus police into high gear. They for days sort of insist that there's nothing going wrong, nothing wrong, nothing to worry about. They're quoted in the campus newspaper as saying, there's no evidence a crime has been committed here. She doesn't seem to be the victim of a crime. We're pursuing this, but doesn't look like anything's wrong.
Well, where are the parents in all of this? Are they trying to get an investigation or trying to reach the cops or what?
The parents, first of all, the parents didn't realize that she was gone for a while. Kristen had left them a phone machine message, I think that Friday of Memorial Day weekend, and then she normally called home on Sunday, and she didn't call, and then I think on Monday they get a call from campus police saying, "Is Kristen there? Because we can't find her." And so the next morning, that was either Sunday or Monday, but then the next morning, Stan Smart gets in his car and drives the 4+ hours from Stockton, where they lived, to San Luis Obispo to start looking for his daughter, which he was a lot quicker to move than campus police were.
Okay, so that's the state.
That's how it all. They were campus police were very slow on it. Very slow out of the blocks here, and that is not that's not just me. That's a widely held feeling among law enforcement over the years.
Go ahead, Courtney, please.
Yes. So, police interview students around the dormitories, friends of Kristen. They interview Paul Flores, 2 of Paul Flores' friends. I don't think Paul Flores had many friends. If you go down a little bit, Albert, I think there's a picture of Paul Flores. He was actually arrested. What was it? The following Monday, Josh, for the DUI, or he was taken into custody for missing something around a DUI that he had.
Yeah, but he was not arrested for this murder for 25, almost exactly 25 years. It very quickly emerged that he was one of the last, if not the last person to be seen with Kristen. And when he comes in and sits down with police, he's got a black eye. And he says to them he got it playing basketball. The next time police sit down with him, which is, some period of days later, they've done a little checking, and they found out that one of Paul Flores' friends say, no, he had that black eye earlier that weekend. He didn't get the black eye from basketball. He already had it. And so then Paul Flores tells a different story. He says he was working on his truck, and he was lying down trying to get the stereo out of his truck, and somehow bumped his head, or the stereo fell and hit him. I mean, he's got some story about how that happened. So now right away he's told 2 different stories about how he got this black eye, and he was last seen in the company of a woman who was physically larger than he was. So the thinking among some people is that she hit him while he was assaulting her. Now, there's another little part of Paul Flores which is not getting talked about very much, which is on campus and in high school, he had a bunch of nicknames, none of them the kind that you want. He was known as Chester the Molester. He was known as Weird Paul or Creepy Paul. He made women uncomfortable, and a small amount of police work revealed that he made some people frightened women. Some of that was known to the university before Kristen disappeared. So there are going to be some questions as to how much they knew, what they did about it, whether they did anything about it. They don't appear to have done anything about it. And also what could be done about it. I mean, he hadn't exactly committed a crime, but he'd, shown up outside women's dorm rooms and behaved strangely, and behaved in ways that made some women uncomfortable to the point of being frightened. There's also some reason to believe, and this is one of the things we're going to talk about on Dateline this week, that party was not the first time Paul Flores saw Kristin Smart. Other students will talk about how they'd met each other before, or at least he'd seen her before, and sort of attempted to ingratiate himself to her, and she was not terribly interested. So all of a sudden, that meeting at the party and his decision to walk her home sort of looks a little bit different. And one more thing, which Courtney pointed out, which was, she was seen almost incapacitated in the front yard of the home where the party was. She was lying down in the grass, seemingly unable to stand up, which was certainly consistent with having had a lot to drink. And, there were a lot of people that weekend having a lot to drink. It was Memorial Day weekend. But the thing about Kristen is that no one really saw her drink very much that evening. However, she was in Paul Flores' company to the extent that he was at the party, and he would have had access to whatever she was drinking. And date rape drugs, in 1996, that was a thing. They were sort of in their infancy, but it was definitely that was definitely a possibility. I mention that because years later, prosecutors said that they believed that Paul Flores had a history of drugging, raping, assaulting women. And,
that's interesting. I also would say,
yeah.
But because you both have kind of pointed to the physical size, you'd think that she would have had to have been significantly compromised for him to been able to
look, it may have been that she was drunk, but no one really saw her drinking. If she really was anesthetized by him, that would have made it harder for her to punch him. But on the other hand, he may have been getting the dosage, right then. This would have been early in his drugging career, if prosecutors are to be believed. So maybe that totally is possible, and it does fit with the profile that law enforcement assembled of him, of Paul Flores, as the years went by. Look, here's the interesting thing about this story. This is why I say we're going to sort of show you something a little bit different than the normal Dateline, in which you don't know who it was, because from the beginning there really weren't any other suspects. Paul Flores was the last person to see Kristen alive. He had this reputation, and he lied about how he got that black eye. All of that, and he very quickly did not want to cooperate with police. All of that sort of pointed to him as the main person of interest in this for a number of years. But campus police, one of the stories we're going to be telling is the incredible number of sort of missteps and fumbles by law enforcement early on. It took them a while to realize that Kristen was missing. It took them a while to treat this seriously. They early on asked a lot of questions about what she was wearing and what she drank. I mean, they went to her parents and sort of said, your daughter did a lot of things to put herself at risk. She was wearing, board shorts and, showing off her legs. And in an interview with Paul Flores, the cops described Kristen as massively promiscuous. Now, you can chalk that up to cops trying to build a bridge to this guy who they think attacked her. That's not inconceivable that would happen in the room like that. But there's no reason for talking about her like that to Kristen's friends or to her parents, because there you're not trying to build a bridge. That then comes across as what your actual opinion is. And that's a very, very ominous thing if that's what campus police were thinking, which is that sort of she brought this on herself. Whatever this was, she did this. I know that alarmed the Smart family almost from the get-go, and that's one of the things that sort of made them feel that they had to take matters into their own hands, which they did for about a quarter century. So part of it is this fumbling at the beginning. They didn't really search his dorm room. They didn't confiscate anything that could be tested for DNA, for blood evidence, for any trace that Kristen had ever been there. By the time they did search the dorm room, the term had ended. All the students moved out. Paul Flores' dorm room had been thoroughly cleaned the way all dorm rooms were at the end of the term. So that was like a big problem. And in that sense, if Paul Flores was the guy, he was incredibly lucky in that respect. Sometime later, cops decided to come back with cadaver dogs. And they went through that hall that you saw, that dorm. And there are like 115 rooms there, student rooms, something like that. All 4 cadaver dogs separately alerted on human decomposition in the same place, which was the now vacant room of Paul Flores.
Wow.
That said,
and that's admissible as okay.
Well, it's admissible, but it was viewed
contestable too. Yeah,
it was viewed right, and it was viewed at the time as not enough to go ahead with an arrest, and so he wasn't arrested, and he stopped cooperating, and like nothing happened for a really long time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, decades went by, right?
Yeah, I mean, 25 years, a good 25 years. So, I mean, part of this story is the sort of twisting, turning road that law enforcement took to finally find this guy, put a case together, and lock him up. Another one are all the sort of missteps and mistakes that were made early.
Let me ask, this is an interesting question that Lori asked in the chat. I think campus police maybe tried to limit campus liability. Did they bring in municipal or federal cops? What was the involvement of law enforcement?
First, they asked for help from the DA's, from the San Luis Obispo DA's office investigators, and they sat down with Paul Flores, and they were considerably better, those two guys, one of whom we interview on Dateline this week, about, I mean, they're the ones who kind of exposed some of the early flaws in Paul Flores's story. But then pretty soon he stopped talking to them. But after about 30 days, which is an eternity in a missing persons case or a homicide investigation, they sort of officially handed it over to the San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's Office, at which point the trail was extremely cold. One of the things that happened in this case many, many years ago, this was back during the administration of California Governor Pete Wilson, is the Smart family helped pass something called the Kristin Smart Safety Act, which requires that public institutions have a plan to coordinate with local law enforcement when there's a crime that's sort of outside their normal purview, which is a great idea. And the Smarts now want that expanded to the nation as a whole, because one of the things that we see on Dateline all the time, one of the things a lot of people know is that campus police are more set up for things like finding stolen computers and bicycles and burglaries and people who shouldn't be on campus and things like that. They don't really excel at complicated criminal investigations, and those need to be handed off to a real law enforcement entity right away. And in this case, it wasn't, and that's one of the reasons why this wasn't solved for such a long time.
That's interesting. By the way, purview, I will ding. Go ahead, Courtney, to finish up because we're almost out of time, please.
Yeah, I'll just mention that in 2019 there was a podcast called Your Own Backyard that started to air. A gentleman named Chris Lambert, who I know is on the Dateline episode this Friday. He put together this podcast. He was very young. He was 8 when this crime happened, and he was not in the field at the time, but he drove past the billboard that the family put up so many times, and he always wondered what that was about. And the interesting thing about Chris is he's not a journalist. He wasn't a friend of the Smart family. He'd never investigated any crime, but he sort of put together this podcast based on his own interest, and people started responding to it. A couple of things happened. One is it energized the investigation because the sheriff's office listened to it, and then they sort of normally, like a law enforcement agency is not anxious to get any help from podcasters. I can't think of any other time where that's been a thing. But here they were, and people were calling Chris Lambert with information, people who hadn't spoken with authorities, and he was getting that information to investigators. And so there was sort of this like unofficial partnership, which really ended up helping spur this investigation forward. One of the things we'll talk about on Dateline is sort of the mechanics of how that happened. So Chris Lambert deserves a lot of credit for sort of getting this thing started again and getting people interested in it again. And the podcast is very good. And partly that's because of the way that he tells the story, which is in a very unhurried, calm, and unbiased way, sort of giving Paul Flores and his family the benefit of the doubt. In a lot of cases, which
here's Paul Flores being arrested.
Being arrested, yeah. Paul Flores, 45 now, same age Kristen would have been.
Wow.
Just one more thing, which is, one of the things that this story is about is the question of what would you do for your kids? The Smart family spent 25 years trying to find justice for their daughter and trying to find out where she is and trying to prosecute the man that they thought was responsible. And the Flores family, if you believe prosecutors and the Smart family, spent 25 years trying to protect Paul Flores and shield him from prosecution. So there's because there was a belief from early on that Paul Flores could not have disposed of Kristen's body without some help, and they believed that came from his family. So you have the Smart family, which for 25 years didn't have any answers and had to live this life in which this was a constant presence. I mean, they weren't allowed to begin healing because the story wasn't over. The Smart family has not spoken with reporters in a very long time, but they did speak with us, and they'll be on Dateline this Friday.
Wow. Sounds like it's going to be quite the Dateline with some new soil tilled, is what I would say. Courtney, thank you. You brought a lot of visuals. I feel like we didn't necessarily, saw a bunch of them.
We went through most of them, and Chris Lambert's actually the next visual, I think. But no, we went through most of them, and then
good.
The trial actually started in July of last year, and then the verdicts were read in October. So Paul was found guilty of murder of Kristin Smart, and then his father, though, was found not guilty of.
Yes, they tried his father for hiding her body because they found what the prosecution said was human blood buried under the deck of his home, indicating that a body had been essentially stored there for a long time. But the blood was too degraded to get a DNA profile. So all the tests could show was that it was human blood. That was not enough for the jury. They found the Paul's father, Ruben Flores, not guilty of helping his son by hiding the body.
There they are, Paul Flores and Ruben Flores.
There they are. Paul Flores is going to be locked up for a very long time. And the one last thing is, one of the things we're going to talk about is the cost of justice being denied, not just to the Flores family. I'm sorry, not just to the Smart family, but to the issue of what Paul Flores was doing for 25 years, because prosecutors believe that what he did with Kristin Smart was drugged her and assaulted her, and that he only sort of refined that behavior over the years and did that numerous times when they served search warrants on his house in San Pedro in Los Angeles, where he moved after Kristen disappeared. They found videos of him having sex with women who were clearly not in any condition to give consent. And they found drugs in his house that would have functioned as date rape drugs. And the belief by prosecutors, although he wasn't charged with this, is that Paul Flores, after Kristin Smart disappeared, spent the next 25 years drugging, raping, and assaulting women.
Jeez.
And that's because that's what happens when an investigation is fumbled early on and someone is essentially given a free pass. That's how he used his free pass, is what prosecutors say.
It's all very disturbing. So it's Dateline this Friday at what time?
9 o'clock Eastern and the Pacific, 8 o'clock Central.
Courtney, you and your friend did a nice job today. Thank you very much.
Me and the professional. Thank you so much, Josh.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
A lot of fun.
Mark's Murder Mystery Monday.
Oh, yes.
On the Mark Thompson
Gives me
Show.
chills. Josh Mankiewicz, great to have you part of things always. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time.
Anytime, Mark. Thank you.
Yeah, good times, everyone. Good times. Courtney, same for you. I didn't mean to neglect. Nice job with you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the throwaway.
I have a pretty packed few minutes. One of our favorite people who you've never met on this show is going to join us, but he really is one of the enduring relationships in my life, and I adore him. He adores, not me, but Taylor Swift.
That's not fake. That's real.
Yeah. He can speak to the Taylor Swift experience since he was part of it and is part of it. I'll just remind you as we close out this hour, it's Fauci versus Tubin.
That's not fake.
No.
That's not fake. That's real.
Okay.
It was wrong. It was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Anyway, it's one or the other. You vote till midnight tonight. Kim's News next, and then Bean Baxter from Kevin and Bean.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Talking to him next. So.
The Mark Thompson Show. I'm Kim McAllister, and this report could be sponsored by you. If you are interested in sponsorship opportunities, you could email us at themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. And yes, here comes the rain again, another big storm hours away from slamming into California. The heaviest rain will soak the northern part of our state tomorrow morning, the southern part on Wednesday. The Bay Area could see winds of at least 50 miles an hour. Double that, though, in the mountains. This raises the risk of power outages again. About 610,000 customers were affected during last week's bomb cyclone. That killed 2 people because of trees falling onto vehicles. It also caused a tornado in Southern California. At least 3 children are dead, and 2 adults are dead as well, after an active shooting event at a Nashville school. It happened this morning at the Covenant Presbyterian School. It is a preschool through 6th grade school. The Vanderbilt University Medical Center confirming the child deaths, multiple outlets confirming the adult deaths today in Nashville. The military is being urged to protect abortion access for service members by Senate Democrats. In a letter to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, Democrats argued restricting abortion care for service members and their dependents harms the health and readiness of the military. An estimated 40% of active duty women are assigned to locations with either limited or no access to abortion services. The CDC says that contaminated eye drops, now recalled by the FDA, have caused 3 deaths and blindness in at least 8 people. This is pretty scary. The CDC blames a bacteria known as Pseudomonas for at least 68 recent eye drop contamination cases in 16 states, some of which have even caused death, blindness, and corneal infections that do not respond to medication.
This is a naturally occurring bacteria, or what is this?
Something happened with, in the packaging or something, and they're saying, yeah, so... And they haven't said exactly what.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna have to. I think that apology letter. Yeah, I wouldn't have AI write it. I'd try to write that, and that's. I mean, I'd like to know how
that happens.
Yeah, if it's naturally occurring or what the story.
How Pseudomonas pops up. What I do know is you don't want it.
That's right.
You do not know what you are talking about.
Okay, neither one of us knows. Go ahead.
There is a new plan to tackle California's homelessness crisis. The governor wants to use Medicaid money to pay for 6 months of rent or temporary housing. He thinks it'll be cheaper for taxpayers than covering expensive hospital or nursing home stays. He's asking President Biden to approve this new program modeled after one in Oregon and Arizona. The state has the largest Medicaid program with more than 13 million patients. And let's end it with Mickey. How about that? Mickey. Is he up? Nope, there he is.
As in the Disney Mickey? Oh,
yeah,
there he is.
There he is. Disney sharing details on its planned neighborhood in Riverside County. The community named Cotino is located in Rancho Mirage near Palm Springs. Residents who purchase a membership will have access to a slew of amenities, including a gathering place, a beach area, and a party venue. Officials say this will give them the opportunity to experience magic right outside their front door and down the block. Kind of like the Mark Thompson Show.
That's the scary part, frankly. But anyway, yes.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
It's all extend the Magic Kingdom, the reach of the Magic Kingdom.
And I was going to end with Mickey, but because you've brought her up, we'll do a Taylor Swift story to round it out.
I love it. Come on, Taylor.
That's right. Taylor Swift fans are in a Los Angeles court today over the ticket fiasco that prompted a congressional inquiry. The federal court hearing the case brought by fans who claim Ticketmaster and its parent company Live Nation violated antitrust and consumer protection laws. It all started after Ticketmaster botched the initial online sales of Taylor Swift's blockbuster concert tour months ago.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
What's going on at
the
Ticketmaster?
fans say the companies have a monopoly and they charge too much.
They're right. The fans are right. The Swifties or whatever they call them. Yeah.
The fans went to the concert anyway, is what I understand. So
yeah, but that's okay. They can still take their court case. But yeah.
I just want them to explain all the mystery fees, like the processing, like just how do they justify how much they're charging for just the processing?
No, there's no justification. But you're right. It should be. I love that legislators are gotten them. We can ask Bean about it because Bean knows all about it, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, they charge it because they can charge it, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll ask Bean. That's
now,
right,
anyway.
though, in general, yeah. I'm for not only Taylor Swift, but anything. You're right. They charge it because they can.
Because they can, until they're told they can't. And
there's never been anything like this.
That's
yeah,
right.
Thank you, former President Trump. And I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
This is a long sweeper. This is a long sweeper. Albert, can we just let me just hit a big how about a
My words upset so many people.
Anyway, thank you for that. It's too long. Yeah. I want to bring Bean on. I want to bring Bean on everything. Thank you for being here. We're in the middle of a great show. Sorry to keep a great award-winning journalist and host and broadcaster waiting for one more minute.
Now, I can't believe it! Marx Madness.
Something really hot's going on this hour. You've got
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Joe Box goes up against...
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Oh! Again, it'll either be...
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Or...
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
So you vote for one or the other. Joe Box or which one of you is Mark Thompson? You can vote in the community section of our YouTube channel and also in the chat here for the next hour. Good luck. I'm really bummed that my bracket is blown into a million pieces. I don't think I can put Humpty Dumpty back together again. But
I feel
more
like
on my...
it's you versus the chat in this matchup. It's Mark Thompson versus Joe Box, who's I haven't seen in the comment section yet, but I'm waiting for him.
All right. Without any further delay, there has been significant delay already, and for which I apologize, Bean. But this guy, I have such immense respect, but leave me out of it. The industry of broadcasting has awarded him with pretty much every decoration and award an industry can decorate and award somebody with. He's Bean Baxter, everybody. Come on, Bean.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, from Kevin and Bean.
How late are we running here? Are you getting to be 10 minutes late now, according to the schedule? What's going on here?
What is the
kind of
story,
show are you
Albert?
running?
I mean, really, it is your fault, Albert.
Whoever is producing
It's
this
true,
thing
Albert.
has no idea what they're doing.
How did we get so late? Because of the
Josh.
mystery?
Because of Josh, I think, yeah.
Because of Josh, yeah.
But I love Josh, and I love listening to Josh, and that sounds like a fantastic Dateline. I'm so excited about that.
You should know Bean is a friend of Josh as well, so we all kind of, it's one of these days where the stars align. But yeah, that's how we got so late. But we've got plenty of time with you. Because I'm blowing everything else out until the bottom of the hour.
Well, good, because I have so many comments of what I've been seeing on the show here today.
Oh, okay. Well, you want to start with your comments, then we'll get to Taylor Swift?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, just like when I've joined you on the radio before, I always bring topics. You know that. Okay. First of all, I'm dying to know. I haven't heard you guys discuss this much. Kim has been doing a great job of keeping us updated with the Gwyneth trial, but I want to know what your thoughts are, Mark, as a guy who has seen 100 celebrity trials in your long, illustrious broadcasting career. Does it help or does it hurt the celebrity to be a famous person in the courtroom in a case like this that is going to boil down essentially to a he said, she said?
Yeah, this is a really good question. I think that given the fact that you can see and you saw this in the Amber Heard trial with Johnny Depp, you see how they turn down their look. They want to turn down the red carpet celebrity part of their profile and crank up the I'm just like you normal person profile. So that must mean that based on history, you want to be as every man as possible. So I would say on balance, probably being a celebrity hurts you a little bit. Don't you think, Bean?
I think so too. And you're right. Gwyneth doesn't show up in an evening gown carrying her Oscar, but there are going to be people, is it a jury or a judge trial? I don't even know. I think it's a jury trial, right?
It is.
Who are going to look at her and go, oh, she's a rich, famous white lady. I'm going to defer to Joe Q Public here in this case. And I wonder if in that case, if being a celebrity actually hurts you in terms of trying to get a fair, even balanced trial.
Yeah. I mean, I think being a celebrity and being hugely wealthy helps you in every part of society, but maybe this one. You're right.
Maybe this one, right?
There she is, and she's got like a 70s glasses look going there.
She does.
It's sort of like she could be on the Rockford Files with that look. You know what I mean?
Do you believe her when she says that this gentleman skied into her, or do you believe the gentleman who says the reverse?
Oh, that's a great question.
Have you thought about who you think is telling the truth? Oh, Kim's going to weigh in here. What do you think,
Yeah,
Kim?
what do you think, Kim?
So here's my question.
Yeah.
Is it like an automobile accident where whoever rear ends you is at fault? Right?
Yeah.
Because they were
Yes,
driving
it
too
is.
cause
is.
he hit the back of her. His skis went in between her legs. She says she feels this body on the back of her. And she's like, somebody's, trying to cop a feel. I don't know what's happening.
Well, that's what she says.
But could she have
he has
skied
just
in
the
front of
opposite
him,
story.
though? Is it his fault if she skied in front of him and he had no choice because she came out of nowhere right in his path? That's what we're trying to decide, I think.
I mean, how do you put your skis in between someone's legs? If you ski right in front of them, you would have to hit them like a T-bone head on, right?
Yeah,
so
interesting.
It just seems to me that the way in which the accident happened, I don't think he's going to win it. Just because of the way it happened, because of the way that he hit her backside.
Does the jury know that she is only suing for $1 is another question I have, because that would, I think, work in her favor, that it would make, look, I'm just here because I believe in justice.
Well, and first he sued for $3 million and then he lowered it to $300,000. So it was like, was this guy out for money or what? Right.
Yeah. Soon it's just going to be
my bad. I'm sorry.
All right.
All right.
Should have never brought it. Yeah.
Interesting take. Thank you, Kim. All right. Item number 2, Mark.
Yes,
and I've talked about this on my podcast too, and I'm serious about this, and I'd be curious to hear yours and Kim's reaction to this.
What's the name of your podcast, Bean? Just to kind of give you a
cup
little
of tea
bump.
and a chat. If folks want to
give you a Mark Thompson show bump, a cup of tea and a chat. Okay,
it's on
go ahead.
Patreon, and it's not worth it. Don't even forget about it. Okay, but here's the question I have for you.
Bean. Go ahead.
Is the former guy calls her Stormy Horseface Daniels, right? Which is terrible. I hate everything about it. But I also hate this that I see in almost every media outlet. Every single time that case that's being discussed in New York is brought up, she is referred to by her occupation, adult film star Stormy Daniels. My question to you, Mark, is how is that relevant at all to the story?
Well,
if she were a paralegal, if she were a landscaper, would every mention of Stormy Daniels also include paralegal Stormy Daniels, landscapers? I say no. I say it's only there to make the article clickbait and more salacious. It's not relevant.
I think you're right. Certainly you're right about its relevance. But if you look at, and I think you're right that it's clickbaity, but if you actually look at other media reports and as when they refer to people, sometimes they will refer to media tycoon Sumner Redstone, a former CBS boss, Les Moonves. They will tack on the person's profession, and her stated profession is as a pornographic actress. So to that extent, I think it's sort of forgivable. That doesn't in any way deny your first 2 points, which seem solid,
Yeah, it just bugs me every time. I feel like they're only doing it because they're casting shade on what she does for a living, as if somehow this makes it worse.
Kim,
okay,
Kim, you'll cast the deciding vote.
I feel like it's relevant, Bean. I have to say it's relevant, and here's why: because it's an affair, because she's a sex worker, because she was paid for sex. It goes to the relevance of the case that she sells sex for a living. So the fact that he likely had sex with her and paid her for it is, I think it seems to let it, it's relevant to state such.
I think it's just an attempt to make the affair seem scummy.
I think it's there, but both can be true, though, Bean. That's what I'm saying. Both can be true. It's a legit way, and it makes the affair, a little sexier. John said they don't call Trump former president. They actually do say former President Trump.
I call him every time I call him former president.
Right.
But I do, because he is the former president, and it,
Oh, they don't call him John. I see. Meaning he's a John.
He's a John.
I'm sorry. I understand.
Well, but the more his name is put in connection with, adult film star Stormy Daniels, the more embarrassing it is, or should be, I would think.
Yeah. Okay.
I think, but to Kim's point, Bean, I think you're right. They're trying to smear it further. They're trying to embarrass him further by calling it an adult film. So, but again, all these things can be true. You can both embarrass him further. You can make it more clickbaity. But this is also typically, I think, the way people are referred to by their, by their.
All right.
Former,
one more topic, and that
job.
is the shooter in Nashville that Kim has brought us news of is a 28-year-old woman. How long has it been, Mark, since we've seen a mass shooter who is a woman? How long?
It's almost exclusively the area of men. That's right.
It's the most shocking detail of this story to me.
Yeah.
I can't get my head around it.
We'll get more details on her, but you're right. Just the gender alone is something that distinguishes it it's a major distinguishing feature.
Very busy news day here today on the Mark Thompson Show.
Really
and may I
is.
just say
Thank you.
this, by the way, and I know I've told you this privately, I'm so proud of you and your team and what you're putting out here every day. It's an outstanding show. I try to watch a little bit anyway, every single day. I think you're doing fantastic work. How are you doing in terms of corralling your former KGO audience to know that the shop is open and that you're available for business?
That's been the biggest challenge because we didn't have a chance. We had to just go off the air suddenly. And a lot of those people don't know we're here. A lot of those people aren't used to watching YouTube. To you, it's no big deal. But to my audience, a lot of whom were just, passive radio listeners, just passing through KGO, and even some of them dedicated KGO listeners, they're not used to watching things on YouTube. So it's much harder.
So unless they follow you on social media, there's no way for them to even get the word out. There's no advertising.
Kim, I think, maybe blasts occasionally on Facebook. I don't know. I'm not really on Facebook much. Facebook is where many of them may be. So if we were really aggressive in the Facebook, I'm having trouble just kind of getting all the variables together for keeping the show on YouTube and, trying to smooth out certain areas and trying to boost Patreon participation, your Patreon as well, I know. And just trying to make payroll, it's tricky. But what I'm trying to say is some kind of Facebook spend where you advertise for your show, where your audience might be, is probably a smart thing. We just haven't quite had the resources to do it yet.
I've been doing my show 2.5 years, and we still have the same conversation. We still haven't pulled the trigger on that. We probably need to. I'm sure there are people out there who used to listen to Allie and me, my podcast partner, on the radio, who just have no idea that our show exists. So it's just a question.
What's great about you is you have, I think, just more of a social media reach than I do. You were on the air, were dominant for so long. So it's cool that you've been able to corral a lot of people. I don't know if obviously it's not everyone, but I love that you've been able to. When you fire a flare, I think more people see it maybe than when I do. But,
well, I'm very grateful for that. I've had an audience that's followed me for a long time. By the way, do you love what I put under my name here on the screen? You're allowed to put your company or whatever you want to promote.
Yeah, knows the truth about Mark. It's true, but the truth is all so flattering and impressive, Bean. I'd be happy for you to spill the tea.
And the truth about Mark, and I'm here to say it, he's even more handsome in person, ladies.
Yes,
I know you're looking at him and go, how is it possible he's that good looking?
How is it possible he could be on TV? Look at how white I look. It's unbelievable. And I can't do anything. And then I'm starting to realize maybe I am that white. Maybe I am that chalk white. It's just
you are a very white dude, but maybe being a weatherman for so long, maybe you know that you shouldn't be spending any time out there in the sun. Is the whiter you are, the longer you'll live without cancer.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
You're happy.
Bean, tell us about Taylor Swift. Did you go to the concert?
I haven't been to the concert yet. I have tickets. I was among the lucky few who was able to get tickets. I won't see her until later in the summer. All right, here's what I have to say about the conversation you were having about Ticketmaster. Yeah, they're honked up. It is a monopoly, them and Live Nation, and they charge all those fees because they can. And it's horrendous, and somebody needs to step in and do something, right? The fact that they charge you $2.50 to print out a ticket on your own printer with your own paper and your own ink is a perfect example of how it's just out of control, right?
Yeah.
But I do think, having said all that and agreeing with everyone on Ticketmaster, it's a supply and demand problem when it comes to a tour like Taylor Swift's. The people who were able to get tickets aren't that mad at Ticketmaster right now. It's the vast majority of people who weren't able to buy tickets to the show because the desire so outstrips the available tickets. She's doing 52 stadiums, okay? And that is not, she could do 10 times that many and wouldn't sell tickets to everyone who wants to go see Taylor Swift. It really is a supply and demand situation for the most part, I think.
Of course, you're right. That's what animates the anger. And by the way, Albert, it might be nice if we could just organize a picture of Taylor Swift while Jean is there. You go.
Boom. There she is.
Bean Baxter is talking. There she is. And by the way, just on her, she is a mega talent who is connected to her fans in ways. I think it's unprecedented the way she's connected to her fans. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think she came up at the right age and the right maturity of the internet to have that connection where she really did personally interact with thousands and thousands and thousands of fans who are now stands for life. And she has just continued to always have a wonderful social media presence. And she does so many things. I mean, she's an artist who invites fans to her home for an unveiling of the new album, for instance. You know, there was a story just in the news last week. She sent tickets to a little girl who had a serious burn 5 years ago, was involved in an accident where she was burned. Taylor had visited her in the hospital 5 years ago, Mark, and said, I know what you're going through right now, but one day you're going to get out of this hospital after all of your skin grafts, and I'm going to let you come to one of my concerts and see you again. 5 years go by. Those tickets arrive at that little girl's house. She was 8 at the time of the accident, 13 now. Tickets out of nowhere arrive from Taylor Swift saying, hey, I'm in your town this weekend. Please come see me.
Wow.
That's the type
That's
of connection
a great story
that she has with her fans is just amazing. And I want to say this.
I want to say that. Yeah, please. You say you want to say, and I want to say. Your want to say takes a precedence over my want to say. Go ahead.
I know that there are people, I can't read the chat right now, but I'm sure that there are many of your listeners who gloss over hearing any news about Taylor Swift because they think she's just a vacuous teen pop star. First of all, she's 33 years old. She's had a 17-year career. She's won 3 Album of the Year Grammys. She sold 120 million records. She's, as you pointed out, the biggest artist in the world today. And having said all of that, and even on top of the 52 sold-out stadiums this summer in America, I still think somehow she's underrated, Mark. I still think not enough people appreciate her as an artist of the century right now. What she's doing now is like what a Joni Mitchell did in her day, or to use her namesake as an example, James Taylor, except in some ways it's even different because she has changed genres so much, starting off as a teen country star, turning into a pop star, then turning into more of an electronic star with her album 1989, and then blowing everyone away during the pandemic with those dual acoustic albums, The Folklore and The Evermore. The kind of songwriting, her songwriting just keeps evolving. She just keeps getting better and better. Most pop acts, as you know, they come out and they're hot for 5 years, 10 years, and then they're on the decline. Then they're playing their greatest hits at the county fair. She continues to get better and better and better. I don't think there's any limit to what we're going to see from her. She's really, really special.
She has well exceeded the arc of a normal pop star, as you've said. Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. And this gets to my point. She really is talented as a songwriter and performer. I mean, she has it all, you know. And somebody else points out in the chat, Beyonce's like her has a lot of those same qualities. I think that's probably a fair comparison.
She's the closest to Taylor. She's a one of a kind artist of her own in her own lane, and she's brilliant. Absolutely, I think they are the Twin Titans. Yeah,
these are pictures from her first concert from the Eras tour in Las Vegas, which happened just a couple of days ago.
Beautiful.
So these are shots taken there.
And she's also performing at these shows, being for like close to 4 hours or some incredible number.
The opening night in Glendale, Arizona was 3 hours and 12 minutes. She did 44 songs. Now, she's got a lot of material she's never performed live because she is so prolific. Since her last tour, she's put out 4 albums and then 2 re-records of her albums with additional songs too. So she has dozens of songs she's never played. So people were trying to figure out, how is she possibly going to put a set list together? Because she has all these previous hits, plus all these new songs we all want to see live. Well, she just decided the answer is to do them all.
That's just
44 songs.
Normally they medley it somehow, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
That's prolific's a ding word, by the way.
I know you're gonna kick me off, but I put on this shirt just for this conversation today, so I want to stand up so everybody can see.
It's a cat shirt, which I applaud.
Not just a cat. This is Taylor Swift's cat, Meredith. That's who I'm wearing on my shirt here today. She's got Meredith Grey, she's got Olivia Benson, and then she's got Benjamin Button. Those are her 3 cats, and this is her first and oldest cat. This is little Meredith, and I love wearing this.
I love that you know this.
Well,
what
she's
was
a
your
crazy
last
cat lady,
Bean,
you know
quickly as we wrap up?
Yes.
Taylor Swift among your crushes. You have met her because you were on K-Rock, right? I mean,
I have declined every opportunity to meet her. I do not
because
want
you don't
to meet
want
her.
Oh, wow.
Because my relationship with her as just a fan is perfect. I wouldn't change a thing. And by all accounts, anyone who's ever met Taylor says she's the sweetest person in the world, and no one has ever had a bad experience meeting her, but I just don't want to do it, honestly. And I don't have a crush on Taylor either, by the way.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay, I'm sorry.
I don't. It's interesting. People always assume because I'm an older man and she's an attractive young woman that somehow this must be a crush situation. I'm in awe of her talent. I love her the way I love Jackson Browne. That's how I feel about her. I just love her as an artist. I know that sounds dorky, but that's how I feel about Taylor.
No, it doesn't sound dorky at all. It sounds quite respectable, in fact. I was trying to think of crushes you have had and celebrated on the radio when you had Kevin and Bean. And I want to say...
There's somebody always comes along. You know, there's always someone who's hot at the moment.
The model. Who was the model you were waiting
Tyra Banks. I was very into Tyra Banks.
Oh my God! You go to Bean's house and you have like these, you know, this is in the dining room. You'd have these things like dolls that would be Tyra Banks.
All right, we don't need to get into that. We don't need to get into that, Mark.
I mean, he's married. His wife is there too. Just to be clear, for those who don't know, but I'm just saying. Hey, Bean, I want you to come back. I want you to be a regular.
No, that's not possible.
We can tell stories of the old station. We both worked at the same radio station right as we were starting our career. It was a suburban Washington, D.C. station. And there's some
happiest times of my life, Mark. Happiest times of my life.
Simpler times. But how many times have you won the Marconi Award?
I don't like to keep track. The number isn't important, Mark.
All I'm saying is I didn't think you could win it more than once. You have. So that's how good Bean is. Yeah.
No, you're very kind, and I enjoy the opportunity to talk to you, whether it's on or off mic. So thank you for inviting me. But I just have to say, I'm so happy for you guys. I'm so proud of you guys. I can see how much work it shows on the screen. It shows on the content that you're delivering every day. I don't like it enough to contribute to the Patreon. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to do that. But I will support you in my own way by occasionally tuning in and watching for free. That's what I'll do.
Wow, that really is...
you get nothing.
Right. We love our Bean. Come visit again.
Thank you. I'd be happy to. Thank you, Albert. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Mark. Bye-bye.
Yeah, good times. Bean Baxter, everybody. How cool is he?
He's really cool.
Yeah.
Those radio guys.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, I love to get a radio guy like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just dominant. I didn't even get how soaked in riches he is as a result of his ratings dominance. You know, he was a big deal in Los Angeles, so he lived the good life. Moved to London with his wife when he decided to give it all up. Now he's back here for a limited time, and it's so cool. I want to get him while I can, because once he moves back to Europe, it's hard with the time difference and everything, and I think the audience will really love him. And eventually, I'll just turn the show over to him.
Well, you know,
I
knew the minute that he popped up with his tie-dye T-shirt, I knew he was going to be a cool dude.
He always comes with stuff, you know, like he did today. So, quick break from Kim. We have much to do. Albert, are we going to... Well, we'll talk about what we're going to do. I'll update the voting, and we have...
I have last hour's voting. If you want to just
look
at it.
Do you want to? Can we take Kim's news and then do last hour's voting?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that works too.
Okay.
Thought you were taking a quick break from Kim.
No.
Now what?
I don't even know. Adore Kim. I never want to take.
Whoever is producing this thing.
Yeah, has no idea what's
the Mark Thompson Show.
Kim's news, and we'll update the brackets next.
I'm Kim McAllister on the Mark Thompson Show, and this serious story today with the school shooting. 3 children and 3 adults now dead, confirmed dead, after a shooting at a private Christian elementary school in Nashville. The shooter, a 28-year-old woman, was shot and killed by police. Nashville police say officers rushed the Covenant Presbyterian School. They rushed there, and they heard gunshots on the 2nd floor and engaged the shooter, who was armed with 2 assault rifles and a handgun. The Covenant is a preschool through 6th grade school. Police say the shooter entered the school through a side entrance. A Fairfield school here in the Bay Area will be in mourning today over the loss of a 6th grader. Tara Jackson was hit by a car last Thursday in the crosswalk right outside Grange Middle School. Her mother had just dropped her off, says she never regained consciousness after being hit, calling it the hardest decision of her life to have to take her daughter off life support yesterday. The woman who hit the 11-year-old was arrested for possibly being impaired. She is due in court today. The White House says it will veto a Republican energy package. The legislation seeking to bolster fossil fuels, accelerate infrastructure projects, and do away with the Inflation Reduction Act is expected to come up for a vote in the House this week. The legislation is unlikely to be taken up in the Democratic-controlled Senate. Mexico and the United States weighing an agreement to crack down on the flow of guns and fentanyl over both sides of the border. The deal comes after months of discussions between the Biden administration and the Mexican government. Mexico has been plagued by high levels of cartel violence, while the amount of fentanyl coming from Mexico into the U.S. has spiked. And Vice President Kamala Harris kicking off a week-long trip in Africa. She met with Ghana's president today and announced a $100 million package to support conflict prevention and stabilization in the coastal West Africa area. Vice President Harris said the United States is committed to strengthening partnerships with African leaders. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
Oh, I love this. Feel the relaxation, Kim. Don't fight it. Take deep breaths. Feel the magic, the relaxation.
I'm on the phone.
I love this.
How would you
feel
handle
like
this?
I'm in a
We
Zen
could try
garden.
ignoring it, sir.
Yeah. You feel like you're in a what?
A Zen garden.
Yes, that's the idea.
Yeah.
What he's got going here is a situation.
Where
I
are
don't
my
know
weed
what
smokers
this...
at?
Yeah, it feels like that. Oh, I love it. Yes. Oh, yes.
Can someone prune the banyan tree?
Uh-huh.
Sayonara, sucker.
Yeah.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you.
You're killing my relaxation buzz. Stop it.
You cannot say you love your country.
Come on. Be
But
a
that
little bit
doesn't
more...
mean that it's a good thing.
Wow, that's really, really rough.
Smell
I
the
don't
cherry
know.
blossoms.
Yeah, I thought it was fun, but I guess, you want to kill my Zen. You can go ahead and do it, Albert. Who am I? This is the Mark Thompson Show. I'm Mark. It's so great to have you here. We've had some really cool guests roll through. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, we're going to try to nail down a booking in addition to the Pulitzer winner, David K. Johnston, a booking regarding the economy. You saw the latest, and Kim reported on the latest with SVB being acquired. And what's happening in the banking situation, I know it's not taking front page news now because of a lot of weather-related stuff, et cetera, but it speaks to the overall world economy. There's a lot more going on than just the failure of a couple of banks or the run on a couple of banks. Some of these banks are being absorbed for different reasons. It's not all happening the same way, but there are some commonalities, and there are also some pretty broad, significant things happening to the world economy. And I want to get into that tomorrow. If I can nail this one great booking, you will love this guy tomorrow. I don't want to say anything until it's actually in the books. Right now, though, without any further delay, it's been, I want to say, a whiplash kind of weekend. And Marx Madness.
Marx Madness.
And so this hour, you are voting on these two. And you can vote until midnight tonight. So you'll vote either for Joe Box.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Or which one of you?
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
All right, it's Joe Box.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Or
hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
So one or the other. You can vote in the chat on YouTube now and until midnight tonight in the community section of our YouTube channel. Albert, meantime, I wonder if you could update the voting on last hour first. That's not fake. That's real.
That's not fake. That's real.
That was going up, I believe, against the Tubin apology. Is that?
It was wrong. It was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Well, who's ahead in that?
It's a runaway. Fake. It's looking like Fauci is running off. Tubin might have to help himself feel better later.
I think I'm getting crushed. I'm getting crushed, I think.
Yeah, I'm also getting crushed in the second round. The second round has really been tough.
I did have I think I did have the Tubin apology. So I'm already crushed from the weekend. The weekend just wiped me out. And then this hour, you have Joe Box.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
And which one of you is Mark Thompson? Those two are going up against.
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
So I know it's still early. We're only about 30 minutes into that. But can you tell, is there a runaway there also?
No, it's close. It's right now 55-45 going in your favor. Well, it's not really yours, but your drop's favor. Well,
I don't know what which one of you is Mark Thompson. The thing that bummed me out because I'm so stupid on the weekend picks was the fact that they were runaways. It's one thing to lose a competition and just lose it, but for me not to realize that Good Day, Sir, a 7th seed, was going to beat Larry King Scene, a 26th seed. It's inexcusable. I ought to have my credentials as a Marx Madness participant revoked.
Sayonara, sucker.
No, you might have to use the Tubin apology as a statement.
Yeah, it was wrong. It was stupid. And I'm trying to, that's exactly right. I mean,
I do get what you're saying about if it was a lot closer, you'd feel more justified with your pick, but it was so far off.
Yeah, there's no defense.
There is no defense for my conduct.
Thank you.
It's like how I'd rather win a bronze medal than get a silver, because silver means I lost in the championship game, But
sure.
If I got a bronze medal in anything, that means, it didn't work out, but I won in the end, so I have a better taste in my mouth.
I get your point, although I don't quite believe that silver medal thing but I understand what you're saying.
It's more money, so I'd probably take the silver medal.
I get your point, though, and you can see how I was so desperate. I mean, I spent the whole weekend just like totally bummed because I looked on the community channel. Once you vote, okay, once you go to our channel, you click on the little mug, okay? This is how Marx Madness works. For those of you who want to vote, you can be listening on the podcast. You could be, or watching in delay, as most people do. No big deal. You can vote till midnight tonight. We want everybody to vote. You don't need any special credential, or you don't need to have a bracket. So you click on that little mug, and then it'll take you to our channel. And there you'll see home, video, shorts, live, and you'll see community. So when you click on community, there'll be a place to vote. Now, most of you know this, and I won't belabor it, but I was going to say that this weekend when I went to community, once you vote, you can see what a runaway it is. And you just I felt so, like, how could I miss what a runaway it was? So Good Day, Sir, just crushing Larry King. And then Porn Star, which my other pick, because now that's a higher seed because it did well last year. But this year is a sayonara sucker year, as I was saying. There, Albert's got it up. You see how you can see right now in the community section, you can see in real time Joe Box and which one of you, Mark Thompson, locked in what may be a photo finish. It may go down to midnight tonight.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
That is playing off against.
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
Yeah. So those two are in play now, along with That's Not Fake, That's Real, and the Tubin apology. But I was really bummed. And so all the King's horses and all the King's men may not be able to put my bracket back together again. That's all I'm saying.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah.
Is it rude to give you the loser stamp?
No. I mean, I'm so appalled by my own inability to do stuff to get it
Mark,
right.
you're still doing well, so we'll just let it play out. We'll see how the rest of the rounds go.
Thank you. All right, Albert. Well, you're kind to say that.
He really is nice.
I have an update on the lottery winner, but I'd like to do something substantial. Can I do a Law and Disorder real quick? I have the open, Albert. So all you need is the graphic, because I have. So we'll do some Law and Disorder, and then I'll update the lottery winner. And before the end of the show, we will hit Marx Madness. By the way, I haven't hit you at all for money today. And I haven't hit you at all for smashing the like button.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Smash the like button, give us a thumbs up, costs you nothing, and we appreciate it.
In the criminal justice system, the people...
Pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care...
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
George Santos, how about this? He denied his involvement in a Brazilian check fraud scheme. He said, hey, this is BS, man. I had nothing to do with this. Well, for a guy who had nothing to do with a fraud scheme, he sure was in a hurry to make a deal with prosecutors. He's accused of stealing a checkbook from an elderly person who his mother was caring for in 2010. He later admitted to forging checks from that checkbook to purchase items, including clothing and shoes. In Brazil, a petition from his Brazilian attorney asked to arrange a non-prosecution agreement, citing Mr. Santos' employment as a U.S. lawmaker and calling him re-socialized. Last year, he told the New York Post that he had never been charged with a crime in Brazil. I'm not a criminal here or in Brazil, he said. Or in any jurisdiction in the world. Absolutely not. That didn't happen, he said. Well, that statement was not true. It was simply a lie.
You, sir, are a liar.
The Brazilian authorities reopened the fraud case against him in January after they discovered that Mr. Santos, who'd left the country after being charged, had surfaced again in the U.S. Now he's accepted a deal with Brazilian prosecutors.
I a liar. Your pants are on fire!
Yeah, they're pretty warm anyway. Meantime, Mexico, and this is a brutal story that I just want to share with you because I feel as though, well, you'll see why. Mexico just got slapped with rare sanctions for its failure to protect wildlife. This is an unusually harsh punishment. It'll block the country from selling its regulated wildlife abroad as exotic pets or souvenirs. New sanctions imposed on Mexico under this global treaty that regulates wildlife prohibit the country from selling any of its regulated wildlife to the other 183 parties to that agreement. The International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, the convention led by that group, is a rebuke, they say this latest move is, to Mexico for their failure to combat illegal fishing of totoaba and vaquita. These are critically endangered creatures, and I should just say that vaquita is down to fewer than 100. So, I have to just got locked out of this story now. Hang on.
Oh, sad. Yeah. Is a vaquita? What is a vaquita? Do we know? Is it a bird or?
It's a kind of dolphin. It looks like it's a porpoise. Yeah. So again, the punishment is the most dramatic under the treaty that again is with this Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. And they had repeatedly warned Mexico about the need to better protect the vaquita and totoaba. I mean, I knew about this. It was way out there in mainstream media, and yet Mexico still did nothing. What happens is they are fishing with huge nets, and what gets caught in those nets are these creatures that are endangered. It's called bycatch, like the catch they didn't really want, but it's tortoises and porpoises, and it's all horrifying. But anyway, the government was asked, Mexico was, this is a year ago, to detail steps it would take to prevent unauthorized vessels from entering waters where fishing is banned and how they might police the gill net-free zones. They're supposed to be free of those kinds of nets. But then Mexico didn't step up with any kind of enforcement action. This is the wild part that I didn't know also. Mexico is a major exporter of wild animals for exotic pets, especially to the United States. Live lizards, tarantulas, as well as wildlife products like reptile skins and bird feathers all come in huge numbers from Mexico. So the sanctions mean that most countries will no longer consider Mexico's documentation for wildlife exports as valid. It's a big penalty. It doesn't help all these creatures that have been annihilated by gill net fishing. And there it is, the vaquita.
Yeah.
You know, and the sad truth about porpoises is they have the unfortunate evolutionary coincidence where it looks like they're smiling. It's just the way, it's just the shape of their mouth, you know. Porpoises have it all kinds, and it's a weird. Oh, here it is. What is a vaquita? Yeah, the smallest porpoise in the world. Its name means little cow. Yeah, and I mean, as I said, there are fewer than 100, I think. So when the CITES, which is the name of the organization, gets word and feels that Mexico is amending its action plan and is committed to resolving the issue, the bans will be lifted. But that's a little bit of what's happening with that. And it's encouraging, honestly. Yeah. We played you Mickey Larson Olsen, who served 6 months in jail for her role in the January 6th insurrection, and she was back at that Waco rally. If you missed that, you can go back and check it out. It'll be up there. It was in the first half hour of the show. And this news that I thought might be of interest to those of you who stay in hotels occasionally as you travel, or even motels offer this service, and the service is housekeeping. As you know, during the pandemic, they rolled back a lot of housekeeping that was associated with the daily maintenance of rooms. Well, as it turns out, they're going to keep that rollback. The hotel and motel business saying that they likely will take advantage of the fact that their guests didn't seem to mind the fact that there wasn't daily maid service. It seems like a money-saving tactic, said one overnight visitor at a hotel, but the feeling of vacation is enhanced when someone else is looking after us a little bit more. Cleaning services, changing bed sheets during shorter stays is now quite rare, said the founder of a major travel site. Oftentimes, it's only offered during longer stays. Go ahead, Kim. Sorry.
It's really kind of wasteful when you think about it, to wash your sheets after one night. I mean,
well, they don't wash your sheets. They usually replace towels and then freshen up the room. They usually change sheets when you
before the
change.
pandemic, they used to, replace your bed linens and everything.
Every night?
Every night, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Marriott, which operates 30 hotel brands, more than 8,000 properties in 139 countries and territories. They announced the new normal during an investor call in February. They say they're going to create a tier system for housekeeping. Those who paid more could expect a higher level of service. Its highest end properties, like the Ritz-Carlton and St. Regis brands, where rooms run upwards of $550 a night, would continue to provide free daily cleanings. The next level, Sheraton, Le Méridien, guests would get a free daily tidy, as it's being called. Guests at what they call the selective service brands, Courtyard by Marriott, 4 Points by Sheraton, Aloft, and Moxie, among others, would get their rooms cleaned every other day. At Hilton's brands, such as Conrad, Doubletree, and Embassy Suites, the housekeeping schedules vary, but the majority in the United States now offer opt-in service, meaning the guests need to contact the front desk if they want a complimentary room cleaning.
I like that. I like that. So if you're that person who wants it every day, you call down. If you don't need it, which I don't tend to need it, then you just say, no, thank you. It's good. We're good.
I will tell you that I tip the housekeeping people heavily. And you would be surprised. They know my name. They can't.
Like,
do you need
Mr.
anything? I mean, it tells me that nobody must tip. Yeah,
Well,
nobody must tip because they do everything but bring me espresso in the morning. That's how.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah, so I always encourage you. I've told you this before. Leave something for that housekeeping staff.
When we went to Monterey recently, I was really surprised and pleasantly so to see that it said you could Venmo your housekeeper the tip.
Oh, that's really good.
And it was like so fast.
What?
I Venmo'd her right away. Loved it.
That's not fake. That's real.
That really is cool. I haven't seen that. Anyway, don't look for there to be housekeeping at your, daily housekeeping at your next stay. And wait for Mexico to come around on the vaquita, and George Santos makes a deal. That's Law and Disorder for today.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on the Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
Yeah, all right. Well,
Does it set us back too much if I tell you a good news story?
Not at all, please.
So, in the storms, this the tree fell, or somehow a bunch of birds, 6 birds got loose at the Oakland Zoo.
I remember that. Yeah. And I thought they were still in the general area of the zoo.
So
right?
So they found all but one, and then they found the one. So I wanted to show you that this bird was found on the porch of a resident that lives nearby the zoo. And so here's what it looked like. You can see the video from ABC7. There's that little bird. It's a pied crow, P-I-E-D, pied crow. Goes inside the house. They close the door and catch him and take him back to the zoo, and all is well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Man. Wow. That's really, really nice.
I've told you, it's never easy being in this business.
Right.
Anyway, just a good little bit of good
one
news.
moment you're feeding the birds, and next moment you're corralling the birds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's very, very cool. That is good that they got them all back. Mostly because they would have died in the uncontrolled environment.
Yeah, no, they weren't meant to be out there. And they had a wonderful sanctuary, bird area, aviary at the zoo.
Right. There was a vulture hanging around nearby, too. It says square. Wow. Didn't know. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I can hear him. There he is.
There he is. Oh, cute little guy. Oh.
And then they had to put him in the house so they could catch him.
Oh.
Yeah. But imagine if that's your front door, and then you've got the Oakland Zoo has to come to your house to. I guess that's kind of a perk of living near the zoo. You never know what you're going to see on your porch.
Well, it's also like, who do you call? You know what I mean? It's not. Is it 911? Is it 311? Is it? You know what I mean? Is it a?
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to run that twice, but yeah.
No, that's cool. I think it was worth seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the question of tips, I see people saying that tipping motivates good service. Yeah.
Yeah.
And someone saying that they leave cash. Oh, this is interesting. They leave cash because that way the people aren't taxed on it necessarily. Okay, that's clever.
Oh, well, yeah.
Well, I see. Huge in Japan saying the option of not being taxed. Yeah, but I would suggest if you Venmo them a little something, they're probably not going to get taxed on it either. But I see. Sometimes you don't have. This is how compulsive I am. I will go get change and break whatever it'll be to leave something behind. I will not permit myself to leave a property without leaving money behind. Even my last day. Certainly early on, I try to leave a lot of money up front, so we get the idea. Dave says the pied crow says, "Excuse me, sir, I was told there were peanuts in this house." Yeah, exactly. Well, I haven't mentioned to you much about anything related to. Oh yeah, Joe Box is saying vote Joe Box. Joe Box is in Marx Madness this hour, and it's either
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Or
hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Yeah. So those two are, and that's very close. So you'll vote for one or the other.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Or
hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
And you'll vote in the community section of our YouTube channel as we wrap up here. That'll be open until midnight tonight. So whenever you're hearing this, and it is tight. Which one of you is Mark Thompson is 57%.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Joe Box is 42%.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Joe Box is losing then.
But Joe Box was a play-in. Joe Box wasn't going to be in the tournament. Joe Box won to advance into the tournament. So this is a lot closer for which one of you is Mark Thompson is the number 2 seed in the overall tournament. So it's a pretty good showing here.
Yeah. Still separated by 15 percentage points, though. So Joe Box has some making up to do.
But he's doing a great job campaigning in the chat. You know, anything, save the Vaquitas, the Pike Crows.
Save the Vaquitas, support. Yeah, vote for Joe Box. That's very great. I missed that. That's pretty cool. Carrie says, Marx Madness is fantastic. It is pretty great. I love it. But I am...
Pied Crows prefer Joe Box. A vote for Joe Box is a vote for democracy. Joe Box is on fire right now.
Oh, wow.
Kind of like you
Box
earlier.
And
in the
Little
bracket.
Anthony.
Yeah. Wow. Very, very
If Joe
funny.
Box wins the Madness vote in this round, I commit to making a $50 contribution to the Mark Thompson show.
Wow. Now you're talking.
Box.
Now you're talking. I haven't passed the hat today, and I think we're going to wrap up the show without doing much of it, but I will just remind you, please smash the like button.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Hit the thumbs up. That's free. And we're crowdfunded. So I appreciate all of you who've joined on Patreon. Every time somebody joins on Patreon, I send them a personal note. Whenever you get anything from me, I'm writing that. There's no cut and paste. I'm writing that directly to you at that moment.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Yeah. So I don't want you to think that, I take every contribution and every bit of support that you provide very seriously. We are completely crowdfunded. Without you, we go away. If you're interested in being part of that crowd and producing some funds to support us on an ongoing basis, you can do it at themarkthompsonshow.com. Click then either Patreon or PayPal to make a contribution. Again, themarkthompsonshow.com. Click contribute to Patreon or to PayPal. It's very straightforward, and we really look forward to recognizing both Patreon and PayPal people, and you'll see it in just a moment. We recognize you with a crawl at the end of every show. Very, very cool. So, and Albert, what do? I see, that Calvin Wong? Is that shadow producer Calvin Wong with a super sticker? Come on, Calvin. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Thank you, Calvin. Thank you for the $20 and also for tons of content. Calvin Wong is a prolific content provider. Prolific's a ding word, certainly.
He's on my tail. I could feel him creeping up. I could see the armchair quarterback in the distance. It's coming closer.
In the pure content production area, but again, this is only one part of producing, but I would say he outpaces you. But this is also a side hustle for Albert. So you have to understand he has other responsibilities like breakout videos, doing the podcast. And for that, Albert is without peer, you see. So I think that, and also, you get it. As producer, Albert is still, I think, clearly lapping all other competitors. But for pure content production, Albert, Calvin Wong is pretty strong.
He's strong, I keep it B-. You know what I say.
Well, I've really enjoyed two things today. Josh Mankiewicz and Bean Baxter. They were really cool to join us.
And Courtney. We enjoyed Courtney very much.
Courtney, we enjoy every Monday. Kim, I enjoy every day. And Albert, I cherish every day as well. Marx Madness has been a tough one for me, everyone. I'm realizing that my dreams of a perfect racket...
You do not know what you are talking about.
Yes, I don't. It's true. But my dreams have been dashed. So let's see how we do through this round. You can vote till midnight tonight. The merch store is open. Nikki Maduro's channel is open. So many places to spend time and attention. We'll be here tomorrow, and again, may have a huge couple of guests. Definitely David K. Johnson at minimum. thanks for joining us. And until tomorrow, Shadow, please, if you will.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
So much fun.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Till tomorrow. Feel better soon, Kim. Bye-bye.